So it seems like the typical goal when it comes to engaging in therapy for anxiety is that we no longer want to experience any anxiety at all in our lives. So I want to talk a little bit today about why that is not a realistic goal for therapy or just for life in general. Anxiety is an important part of our protective mechanism. I will talk a little bit more about that in future videos. I've already done some a little bit too, so I will link them here for you guys. But yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about why this is not realistic and what might be a little bit better of a perspective that we can take or an expectation that we can have going into therapy if that's what we want to do, or just a more realistic expectation to have about our relationship with anxiety in general. So let's get to it. Hey there, my name is Katie. If you're new around here, welcome. And of course, if you've been around here for a minute, welcome back. I am a licensed anxiety therapist on a mission to help you cultivate peace and confidence and presence through just challenging transitions and anxious times in your life. As an anxiety therapist, I do hear this goal quite a bit. People come into counseling and they don't want to feel any more anxiety ever again, which I get, I really do, because anxiety is by its nature very uncomfortable, and we humans don't really like being uncomfortable. So I totally get it. It's normal to no longer want to experience anxiety. It's just anxiety comes from our protective mechanism, like I mentioned before, and so it's just not realistic to want to get rid of this entirely, because that's just not how our body was designed. It's not how it's going to work. And honestly, the nature of engaging in therapy is that it does take work. So if you're going into therapy, or if you have this idea that you maybe want to start therapy or you want to work on your mental health in general, it's good to know that it is going to take work. Having just 1 hour a week or 1 hour every other week with your therapist is not going to magically get rid of your anxiety or fix any of the issues or problems or concerns that you have with your daily life right now. It's just not going to work. So whatever it is you learn in therapy, or if you decide to purchase, the self-help books or workbooks, things that can be really beneficial, if we aren't practicing these tools outside of therapy or outside of that maybe 15 minutes that you want to go through a section of one of those workbooks, you're probably not going to see the change or the progress that you were hoping for. So that's just something to keep in mind when we are talking about therapy or just improving our mental health in general. So if we're wanting to come up with a more realistic goal or a more realistic expectation for therapy, especially or specifically when we're talking about our anxiety, really what we're looking at is being able to improve how we manage our anxiety. Maybe we're looking at, what relationship do I have with my anxiety? How can I improve that? Because right now, anxiety feels like this monster that I'm dealing with every day that's controlling my thoughts, my behaviors, and my life. I don't want that to be the case anymore. So when we are engaging in therapy, when it comes to our anxiety and trying to just improve daily life, maybe feel a bit more calm, a bit more present in our daily life, in our relationships, even just in our own minds, like we aren't having these racing thoughts overtaking every situation that we experience day to day. Truly what happens in therapy, what you can typically expect when it comes to therapy, is that you'll start to understand your emotions better. You'll start to be able to identify them. You'll start to learn what your triggers are, whether it comes to anxiety or other uncomfortable experiences or emotions. You'll also start to connect the dots between your childhood experiences or, regardless of your age, all of your life experiences, right? How they are connected to how you're engaging with life and really interacting with yourself and with others today. It's all connected. Every single experience that we go through in our life is gonna inform today in one way or another. So starting to understand that, connecting those dots can be so very beneficial, just to be aware of what's going on and why we're acting in the way that we are, or why we're thinking in the way that we are, and how it's affecting us. Therapy can also help us feel safe. We can learn what is going to help us, manage our emotions, cope with our emotions. We can really start to learn what helps our body and our mind feel calm, to feel safe, to feel regulated. And of course, we'll start to connect some of those dots between our physical health and our mental health, because our body works as a system. So if we're dealing with, difficulties within our mental health, or if we're dealing with difficulties within our physical health, exploring both areas can be really beneficial to see where's the overlap, where's the connection, where's the impact. And if I can just holistically look at my body as this system, then maybe things will kind of start to take care of themselves as I make small changes here or there, just to make myself feel the best that I can. When we start to bring all of these things together, really what starts to happen is we're better able to care for ourselves through any type of anxiety or stress or overwhelm that we start to experience, because we know now what does help me feel a little bit better, or how can I help my body and my brain to feel safe right now when it thinks that we're in danger, right? And it also helps us to feel present in general in daily life, in our relationships, and through any experience that we have. One of the things that anxiety typically does is that when it identifies a threat, it's going to hyperfixate on that threat so it can try to figure out a way to protect us through that experience. So as we go through this understanding of what are my triggers and how does anxiety show up in my body, just having this awareness, having this understanding helps us to be more mindful of what our experience is, and really just being able to be more present in the moment because of that mindfulness. Something else that typically happens when we go through this process of therapy is that we tend to feel less triggered. And this isn't necessarily to say that things in our life are no longer triggering or that we aren't coming up against the same types of challenges, but really going through this work allows us to respond to these challenges in a much different way. And as we practice doing this over and over again, the fear centers in our brain start to change as well. They'll see, other situations or past situations maybe that used to be really, really triggering. They're no longer as triggering because our brain is no longer seeing those things as physically dangerous in the way that they used to. And ultimately, that's kind of exposure therapy in a nutshell, but we'll leave that for another video. When it comes to anxiety, when it comes to therapy for anxiety, I hope this video kind of walked you guys through what is more realistic to expect from therapy. It's not just this magic quick fix for, okay, I have anxiety, I'm gonna engage in therapy, and then I'm never gonna experience anxiety again. It really is changing our relationship with anxiety, changing our relationship with ourselves, and learning how to care for ourselves through these challenges and through that discomfort that anxiety brings, and understanding ourselves, our experiences, what has been triggering for us, what our brain is identifying as unsafe. And once we piece all of those things together, we'll start to feel better. We'll start to feel less anxious. So it all works together in that way. And like I said, I hope that this was helpful for you guys, especially if you are thinking about engaging in therapy for anxiety specifically. And yes, okay, till next time, I will see you guys later and have an awesome week.